Welcome to Sattva Project, Open Heart, Open Minds. I want to thank our sponsors, Dream Homes, Durian FM, and Asian Durian FM for their kind sponsor of our dialogues and meditation sessions. And today we have a very special guest. We will have a Tonglen meditation with Venerable Tenzin Dasel. So it will be very good moment here. And also in our backstage, without Brother Chong, we will not be able to do this wonderful work. So hello, Brother Chong. Can you say hi?
Hi,
Hello,
everyone.
Brother Chong. Thank you so much for your kind work
Hope
and
you all
efforts.
benefit from the session today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And then we will have Venerable Tenzin Dasel. I want to introduce you. And hello. Hello, Venerable Tenzin Dasel. Very welcome to good afternoon, I guess good night almost.
Good
in
day,
India.
I say. Just good
Okay,
day.
A good day. So thank you so much for your presence here in our session today. I will introduce you to our guests and our viewers. So for those who don't know you yet, Venerable Tenzin Dasel, we are having the Tonglen meditation session. So Venerable Tenzin is the lead teacher and meditation instructor at Tashi Gyatso Link, a registered nonprofit Buddhist center in Maine, USA. Her vision is to serve as a bridge bringing Dharma in the West from the East, in what she calls the rising of the We East, to weave the strengths of Western and Eastern cultures and Dharma to create a global, meaningful, and practical application of Buddha Dharma in the 21st century. She's a 1988 graduate with a BA from the prestigious Bates College in Maine, USA, and holds a Master of Arts degree in technology. Venerable Tenzin received ordination with His Holiness the Dalai Lama in 2017 and has been based primarily in India since 2016. An experienced meditation practitioner and teacher, she's founder of Maine Mindfulness Project and has instructed thousands of people around the world, helping many to create improved quality of life. She has undertaken several months of solitary silent meditation and holds this as the foundation of her practice. She has held meditation retreats and trainings in India, Taiwan, Russia, North America, Australia, Hong Kong, and the Bahamas. Currently, she serves as assistant to Jetsoma Tenzin Palmo in her nunnery in northern India. Venerable Tenzin Dasel has many institutional affiliation with the Vajrayana nunneries and projects throughout northern India, and also happily serves as a Dharma teacher for Sattva Hawk. Thank you very much. And she has studied with the root teacher Kyabje Khyentse Rinpoche Lobsang Tsetsen since 2002. And he's guiding a project to create a green, sustainable eco-dharma center in Maine and welcome anyone interested in helping to get in touch. So very welcome, Venerable Tenzin Dasel. Thank you so much. And we are looking forward to hear a few words from you before we start the meditation session.
Thank you so much, Sonia, and to everybody involved in Sattva for this opportunity to share some words and some time together. It was really too much of a bio, I think, for a Buddhist nun, so we should do something about that. Less is more in these cases. But someone recently said to me, people should know your background, so I still think it's a little too long. I think mostly what I'd say about my life journey, and maybe you can think about your own life journey, why you're drawn to Sattva, into the Dharma, into this quest for world peace and transformation, is that since I was a child, I was always interested in looking for truth. And truth with a capital T, truth in the sense of global universal love and healing, connection, interconnection, deep ecological truth, being one with and part of nature, a nature that's healthy and clean, a wonder of the universe, a sense of openness and amazement as a child that I still feel, putting a seed in the ground and watching a shoot come up, and then later plants transform and grow fruits on them and vegetables, the wonder of life. There's a deep truth going on that we're sometimes missing these days, and it takes a long time and a lot of patience and quiet to observe and to appreciate the deeper mystery that we're all, each and every one of us, a part of. And so in meditation, what we're doing, meditation really means to pay attention to. In English, the word meditation is very close to another word that we're all much more familiar with these days, which is medication. In English, these two words share the same root from the Greek, from metta, which means to pay attention to listen closely, to listen deeply. So this time, this next hour together is an opportunity and invitation. Whether you're with us right now live or you watch this later as a recorded session, to just sit and listen deeply to your own truth. Now I'm practicing as an ordained Buddhist nun, but I wasn't born into a Buddhist family or even a Buddhist society. I'm born in the United States of America, which is theoretically a secular society, but it's heavily influenced by Judeo-Christian values. My own take on that was slightly influenced from a mother who was believing in Christianity and from a father who was believing in Native American spiritual traditions. So over time, we came to find our own path as it became apparent as a girl that there weren't many opportunities for women in the church, and even in Native American traditions, the women's roles had been a little bit pushed to the back. And so as I was a young woman, I was listening deeply to for my own truth. But eventually, when I found Buddha Dharma, I realized that the Buddha was really one of the first feminists. He was the first spiritual teacher 2,600 years ago in his day and age, when society had started to organize itself more, to really invite women to come in as part of his Sangha, as an important part of his Sangha, as pillars in what he called his fourfold Sangha, which we're celebrating right now in Sattva. We have ordained monks and nuns, males and females. We have lay men and lay women. That are the four pillars of Buddhism. I recognized at a time in my early 30s when I had met my teacher that I was ready and really needing and wanting a spiritual master or some spiritual guidance. And this is around the time in my life I connected with Tibetan Buddhist masters, with His Holiness the Dalai Lama and with my root Lama. The beauty of an organized tradition, a tradition that's held itself for 2,600 years around one teacher and wisdom teachings, is that it's maintained itself for 2,600 years. And so one could say then there must be some vestige of truth there, or it wouldn't have lasted for this long. So it's important for people to understand and ask questions. The thing that really drew me to Buddhism was when I walked into a center in Maine, and what I read on the board that's still there was a quote from Buddha that said, "Believe nothing, no matter who has said it, even if I myself have said it, unless it accords with your own knowing, with your own truth." And that very much resonated for me then, and it very much still resonates for me now. So what I would like you to do today in this session is to think about, what is your truth? What do you know deeply? Because we all know truth. Even truth with a capital T, we know it. It's inside of us, it's part of us. And so if we could have the first slide, we're going to practice a practice called Tonglen, which is giving and taking. And we begin with ourselves. We begin by finding and locating within ourselves, where do we feel a deep sense of interconnection with a universal sense of oneness, of a truth that embodies and embraces infinite loving kindness, infinite compassion, infinite or immeasurable, joy and equanimity, empathy, a sense of being able to relate to life, and this sense of equanimity, meaning it permeates all of life. So from tiny insects, I would even say from plants, and the soil has living organisms, all the way up to the greatest living, largest mammal, the great blue whale, and all the life forms in between, including human beings. So this whole web of life is deeply interconnected with the cosmos. And I think these days we need to learn how important it is to keep plugged in to that bigger picture, that long view. So just sit very comfortably now, wherever you are. Maybe just sit, if you're in a chair, make sure your feet are touching the ground so you're really connected with the ground beneath you, holding you, sitting up nice and tall in your chair. And we're going to just take 5 minutes to begin this Tonglen practice with our own body, our own speech, and our own mind. These are the three aspects the Buddha asked us to take responsibility for. He said, you cannot change the outer world. We can only change one person in this whole experience of life. That's this one. So often we worry about the outer world. We worry about climate change and economics injustices and political injustices and gender injustices. And this is true. These are all worthy of our attention and our concern and our involvement. But the Buddha's message is that these things, they were going on in his day and age with problems, with worldly power struggles from his own family. He was born into a kingdom, so he knew lots about politics. He was married. He knew lots about difficult family relations. A lot of the stories about the difficulties he had with his cousin, Devadatta, who was like his nemesis. He knew lots about social injustices of caste systems. This is why he became the Buddha. He looked at the world. We can look at our own world and say, geez, look, not much has really changed. Unfortunately, the world is still the world. And he called this samsara, this worldly system that just constantly is driven by external concerns. And in his quest, he said, we need to look within. We need to start change with the only place we can make it, which is within ourselves. And so we are just going to take 5 minutes now to just practice the beginning of Tonglen, which is breathing in and breathing out. And as you breathe in, you bring in loving kindness, compassion, bliss. It's in there. You got to open it up. You'll find it. And then with equanimity, as you breathe out, you give that equally to all beings, because everybody wants loving kindness. There's not one creature that doesn't benefit from compassion. And there's not one creature, dogs and cats make when they feel bliss. Dogs wag their tails, make, they show you their bliss. Everything knows bliss. So we need, I hope that the internet stays connected. We just lost power. I'm going to continue on and believe that we're still connected. As you breathe in, cherish yourself. As you breathe out, cherish all beings. And as you breathe in and cherish yourself, put a little attention beyond the in-breath to your heart center. So your energetic heart center is here in the middle of your body. Feel a warm, glowing sense. of happiness to just be alive, just to have the miracle of breath. So let's come out of this short meditation now. This was just 5 minutes, but let's just feel the shift that we are able to make just by taking 5 minutes of cherishing our own precious human life and cherishing others equally, that they cherish their life the same as we cherish ours. And this is deeply important these days because we have so many problems and difficulties with ideas around national identities and gender identities and animal identities and movements. And, we're just a oneness of humanity. We're a oneness of life. I think we have to look at it even in a broader scale. Without the green living planet, our kinds of life form would have never arisen. Without green, healthy plants, we would have had no atmosphere on this planet. Without clean, clear water, our own physical forms are more than, some people say more than 85 or 90% water. Without clean, healthy water, we won't have clean, healthy lives. And so the depth of interconnection of our lives, both on a physical, emotional, spiritual levels, economics, and all the politics, everything else that we've set up comes afterwards. I'm talking now on a very, very deep level, cellular level, but even lower than that, conscious level, metaphysical level. There's more going on than meets the eye. When we sit in meditation, we begin to be able to tap into that. And so in Tonglen, what we're practicing, this idea of giving and taking, we begin with ourselves in a sense of what His Holiness the Dalai Lama calls of being wisely selfish. If we're going to be self-cherishing at all, at the beginning we can say, yes, actually, if I think of the trillions and quadrillions of life forms on this one planet, to have a human life is amazing. It's like hitting the cosmic jackpot of this planet's opportunities. If you're an insect, if you're an animal, a cat, a dog, a fish, a bird, those are still very cherished forms of life. Every form of life is sacred, there's no doubt. But human beings have something special. We have a consciousness that can reflect, that can investigate reality, that can look very deeply into its own nature. And we can do that in a way, as far as we know, that other life forms cannot. It doesn't mean really that their life essence is any less than. It's not. It's also Buddha nature. But what it means is that human beings have a special advantage. We have a special opportunity to identify and then to do something wonderful with our conscious nature, which is to work towards Buddhahood, work towards attaining qualities that are for the benefit, the highest benefit, and an evolutionary speaking term, to benefit the entire planet. Somebody like His Holiness the Dalai Lama, who can serve as an amazing example of how to transform aggression through peace, how to accept hatred with loving kindness, how to understand deep suffering through deeper compassion, how to maintain a sense of joy and love and laughter with a life full of difficulties, but still through the essence of appreciation, that life is there to be lived, to be enjoyed, to be shared, to transform, to evolve. So this idea of giving and taking is a flow. And the idea of Tonglen is really to evolve love. So if you think of the word in English, L-O-V-E, love, and you think of the word evolve, E-V-O-L-V, those two words are like mirrors of each other. We're here just to evolve love, in whatever way that looks like for each of us, in whatever form of service, in whatever form of practice, solitary meditation retreat, activism, social activism, with only the sense of loving kindness, not with anger at anybody. In the end, there is no one person to blame. There is no one group to blame. There are challenges. There have always been challenges. They will transform and heal through active embodiment of love, active embodiment of wisdom, active embodiment of compassion and joy, and then coming together to see how does this generation do something better than what's gone on before. We'll never be perfect. If the Buddha could have made everything perfect, he would have done it already 2,600 years ago. He only could perfect his own mind stream. That's the message of Buddhism. That's the opportunity. But he didn't do it for himself alone. He attained enlightenment, and then for the next 45 years went on to teach all over India, north to south, moving everywhere he could go, and taught in 84,000 different ways to different people's capacities, different learning styles, different intelligence levels. And his Buddha Dharma then spread around the known world at the time, up through northern India, Pakistan, China, Tibet, Burma, all these places that weren't even countries necessarily then, all throughout Southeast Asia. And now, thankfully, it's coming to the West. As Sonia said, what I call the rising of the West and the East together. So we have in the West good qualities like taking independent responsibility for oneself, for one's way in the world, a kind of independent spirit that Americans in particular like to pride themselves on, which means a can-do attitude. In the East, we have a wonderful, amazing history of cultures that work together incredibly well in the sense of family, inter-harmony, connection with societies. And so we need both these days. We need a sense of being able to take individual responsibility to make changes in the world that we'd like to see happen, but not just individually by ourselves. We need to come together to work together on a global scale in a way that's never been done before. Wonderful. Great opportunity. We can be creative. It's never been done. So we've got to invent something new. That's the promise from each new generation, to be able to offer some kind of a new insight. So this is what we're doing here at Sattva. This is what we're doing with Tonglen. So if I could have the next slide, please. And the one after this, Tonglen meditation. We have the picture of the lotus because the lotus grows out of mud. It grows out of difficulties. It grows out of depths and darkness that we cannot see the lotus flower at its beginning. It begins in a pod underneath the surface of the water, very mysteriously, very hidden. And then slowly, slowly, somehow the light permeates through the water. The pod opens, a shoot comes out and searches its way up from those muddy depths through the darkness. This is a metaphor. We learn best in symbols and metaphors, especially in the sacred path. This is like our own metaphor of our awakening mind. We start with darkness and ignorance, many of us. Many maybe who are watching, maybe you had a sense that you had a Buddha nature. That would be great. I think I had a sense when I look back at my young journals, even as a college student, I hadn't really met Buddhism yet, but I found a writing that said there's a seed within me that's trying to grow and break out through these walls of darkness that are covering its true nature. That was a kind of metaphor for the seed of the lotus. And then I found this teaching from Buddhism of the lotus flower coming up through this darkness, through a very murky beginning, above the water to offer its beauty to everybody. The blossom is untouched by the water, it's unstained by the mud, and it's a blossoming that is opening itself equally in beauty for everybody. So this is what Tonglen is doing in giving and taking. So now the next slide. Thank you, brother, for going back to this. We'll go to the one after this. So what is Tonglen? Tonglen is this practice known as taking and sending. It redirects our usual focus of avoiding suffering and seeking pleasure. And now we're actually feeling this capacity, our own Buddha nature, that we're able to take on the suffering of the world and send out love and compassion and equanimity and joy. Next slide, please. We use meditation of creative visualization to take in the pain of others with every in-breath and send out whatever will benefit them on the out-breath. In the process, we become liberated from our old age patterns of fear, of selfishness, of ignorance. Usually we avoid it. We don't want to think about the suffering. We consciously then decide, I'm strong enough, I'm brave enough, I'm courageous enough. This is what I'm here to do. I'm consciously here to feel love for both myself and all other beings, and I'm going to begin to take care of myself and all other beings. I'm up for that big task. So we say yes to that. Next slide, please. The benefits of Tonglen. Tonglen awakens our compassion. It asks us to rise up and tap into our infinite loving kindness, our capacity for joy and happiness, and introduces us to a far bigger view of reality. Like I said, the long view, the big global view, the cosmic view, beginningless, endless view. It introduces us to the unlimited spaciousness of shunyata, or emptiness, the deeply interconnected way all things exist, not just on this planet or in this galaxy and solar system or cosmos, but in the entire universes that we can explore and discover If we can see it, it means we're part of it. Things even that we can't see yet, we're still part of, because life exists in an interconnected web of experience, reality, and consciousness that is unfolding layer by layer. Every new generation, every new form of life is here to discover new insights. And this is our great opportunity and quest. So we begin to connect with the open and interdependent dimension of our being. Next slide, please. When can we do Tonglen? Pretty much any time. You know, we can do it together like we're going to now in this practice, but we can do it anytime we feel reminded that it would be a beneficial thing to do. So if we can get our own breath, always in the sense of giving and taking on the pain of others, giving out our joy and our happiness and our positivity, our loving kindness, our compassion. If we could do that every breath by breath, that would be great. Then you'll be on your Buddha level. But for now, we'll do it in this session. And then if you could do it, 10 minutes in the morning when you start your day, 10 minutes throughout the day, and maybe 10 minutes before bed, this would be a wonderful place and practice through 30 minutes. Then you'd have 30 minutes solid meditation of doing Tonglen every day. So we can do these for those who are ill, those who are dying, those who have died. So if people have passed away, they've moved on to another existence, we can still practice Tonglen for them. We can do those for who are in pain of any kind. For political situations, we can send Tonglen. We can do it as a formal meditation practice or right on the spot anytime. Sometimes if we see a suffering animal, we can do Tonglen. I once saw an animal here in India, a horse laden with so many bricks. It was being used to carry them to a workplace. And I thought that was very cruel, but I couldn't take any of the bricks off. But the person who had put that horse and put so much weight on that poor horse's back was not around. And I started to do Tonglen for this beautiful horse, little pony. And I'm telling you the truth, somehow it shifted a little bit and more than half of the bricks fell off the horse. And it felt much more relieved. So we can do it whenever we find situations of injustice, because our power of consciousness, we're just beginning to understand and tap into. This isn't woo-woo metaphysics. This is intentional power of direction with the mind. The mind is our most powerful tool. The mind is what you're listening to me talk about right now. You're all very intelligent. Many of you speak many languages. The mind of consciousness has built the buildings that we're sitting in. It's built this technology that we're using. The mind is our awareness that we're looking out at the world and experiencing it. The mind is what we're using to filter back through and judging. Do I agree with this? Was what Dasel's telling me is resonating? Is it truthful or is it not? The mind is much more powerful than we have any idea of till now. But let's find out. Let's keep going. That's the point. So this is what Tonglen is all about, is working with the power of the mind. And here I'm not talking just about the intellectual mind. I'm much more talking about the power of the warm heart mind, the heart and conscious mind that's in our body deeper than the head. We want to bring the intellectual knowledge into the heart and even down deeper into our gut, into our lower abdomen, really embodying our wisdom. So if we're out walking, so we can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. We talked about that, of spontaneous Tonglen. When can we do Tonglen? Usually, if we see suffering, we might feel like we need to look away, change the channel, scroll down, pass through that, or we engage mindlessly and counter back with negative response, negative commentary. So we don't want to do that. We want to stop that. Now we want suffering to make us think, okay, what can I do about that suffering? I'm here to help and help heal that suffering. So instead of pain bringing up fear or anger and bringing up resistance and confusion, now it's going to bring up our compassion. Now it's going to say, okay, I know what pain feels like. I've lived through difficult situations. And just like me, nobody wants these things. So compassion is the first response I'm going to bring to this. So Tonglen can be done for all the people just like ourselves who wish to have compassion, have compassionate responses, but they don't maybe know compassion. No one's taught them compassion. We cannot practice what we don't know. We cannot practice meditation if no one's taught us meditation. We maybe cannot even experience compassion if no one's ever been compassionate towards us. This is true. When dogs or animals are mean and cruel, sometimes people have taught them to be that way. Sometimes people have only treated them with cruelty, and so they respond with cruelty. No one's ever taught them the softness of the touch. So how would they know compassion? They feel fear if they see any human beings because they only affiliate human beings with suffering. Many children who have been abused don't know compassion. They have anger, they have suspicion, they have tantrums because no one has treated them with loving kindness and compassion. How would they know compassion? How would one experience and feel love if one has never been receiving of love? So in our Tonglen, we're saying, I'm willing to understand through my wisdom how those causes and conditions have come that many beings don't know better. They pick up weapons. They speak harmful words. They create very fearful political situations. They use anger and fear and intimidation to try to suppress and oppress because they themselves don't know any better. We're willing to take on that ignorance, the pain of that ignorance, the attachment of fear of that ignorance, and the hatred and aversion that that ignorance creates. Our Tonglen is going to take that on. And instead of feeling afraid, we're going to stand up. We're going to be brave for them. And instead of feeling afraid of this practice, harming ourselves, we're going to say there's no way feeling love and kindness for every being is going to harm me. I'm feeling that my real courage is rooted in this practice. There's no way taking on other suffering is going to harm me. My compassion is going to actually help prove to myself that loving kindness and compassion and sorrowless bliss are the true powers, the superpowers of this world. Instead of being critical towards ourselves, beating ourselves up, we can use our own personal blocks. We can identify those to wear them down through our own Tonglen practice as stepping stones to understand what all people, and not just people, as I said, also animals, beings are up against all over. This is just one world that we're aware of, one world, tiny world system. We'll just work with this one world system. But we can extend further and further and further out our love as a universal source and force for the good. This, my dear friends, my dear sisters and brothers, is the compassion revolution. This is what we're here to do. Are you with me? I hope so. Next slide, please. So we already started the practice. It's very easy, breathing in and breathing out. And we're breathing all the time, so we can do Tonglen everywhere. It could be the most subversive act we've ever done in the most simplest and clear, hide in the light of day. We say hide in plain sight. And we don't want to hide. We want to share this beauty through our smiles, our love. Even through our masks, we can smile with our eyes. You see? We miss seeing the smiles, but we can smile through our eyes and we can give our loving kindness away to everybody with our presence. Even if they can't see our eyes, they can feel a softness. They can feel an invitation to kindness. They can feel an open presence of peace that's non-harming. So if I can have that big slide up again, thank you. When we breathe in, we're breathing in loving kindness for all of us. So don't, as we began this, don't leave yourself out of the equation. We have to start with ourselves. The Buddha started with himself. He attained enlightenment first, and then he was able to share all the fruits of enlightenment with everybody. So we can't leave ourselves out of this equation. And especially as people who are doing good in the world, many of you are doing service, activism, very engaged. We cannot go out into the world until we get ourselves, our own house needs to be clean, clear. as dear Lama Yeshe used to say. So we breathe in with loving kindness for ourselves, oneself, and all of us, and we breathe out with compassion for all of us. We use what seems like poison as medicine to heal, and we use our personal suffering as the path to compassion for all beings. So we start here. That's just what the Buddha did, and he started just as a human being who was interested in transformation, in finding a path that could be left as a practice, his dharma, that any other human being could follow and successfully complete all the way up to enlightenment. So this Tonglen is taking steps on that path. So let's start right now. Let's stay with this slide again and just take a few minutes. Breathing in. And use the breath as like an internal way to come back. My teacher used to say an internal meditation is like internal shower. It's cleaning us, it's purifying us, it's reminding us of our essential innate goodness, our Buddha nature. So coming back to remembering that. And breathing out that same essence to all of life, that everything that lives has Buddha nature. And imbuing all of life, whether it's someone you would label a friend or an enemy or a stranger, whether it's some kind of a creature that you feel some aversion to, some kind of snake or scorpion or shark, please just breathe out to them that they also have that Buddha nature and that you're recognizing that now. We're dropping all of our judgments, all of our labels. We're welcoming the whole circle of life in to its innate, primordial, pure perfection with radiant awareness. And so let's come out of that short meditation and just check with your own state of mind right now, how you're feeling, giving, sending. How is it to really call this attention conscientiously through the power of your intention to bring loving kindness in, and as a power that is able to accept any kind of suffering that you encounter on the planet, your own to begin with, but then anything else. There's a courage in that. There's a sense of deciding which quality we're really going to stand in. Are we going to stand in fear? Or are we going to stand in the courage of love? And we can see that the power of love and the courage of love is the most transformative force that we can study from great spiritual teachers from history, from the Buddha to Mahatma Gandhi ji, Martin Luther King, Mother Teresa, Jetsuma Tenzin Palmo herself, whose nunnery I'm at. That when we have the power of our truth on our side, the power of loving kindness, the power of compassion with wisdom, which says, I'm here to do something in this world for the power of good, that we will accomplish, we will attain those transformative aspects and benefits for oneself and for others equally. So Tonglen is much more actually beneficial to oneself. Although we're willingly taking on the suffering of others, it's true what I said in the beginning of this talk, that we can only change one being. Even the Buddha said this, we can only change ourselves. But by being willing to connect with and connect to, because we are deeply interconnected, the suffering of others, we are able to start a process where others believe in their own capacity to transform. And then they become more curious and think, geez, maybe if she could do it or he could do it, I could do that too. And they seem really kind and really happy and really pleasant. And I'd like those qualities to arise as well. And so this is the real power of practice, is being able to walk our walk and really not talk much, but just walk our walk in quiet and pleasant frames of mind, our body very peacefully controlled, not harming, our speech very pleasant, not gossiping, not adding negative speech in anywhere, maintaining noble silence. Because it's our body and speech are reflections of our mind. So we don't even have to really say or do much to be with others to make them feel a sense of loving, concerned, kindness, and compassion. This is what the world is so thirsty for. So thirsty for. And we can do this. We can bring these qualities out in our own body, speech, and mind and start to transform one by one, slowly but surely. The consciousness carries itself forward generation by generation. And so we give living examples. As the Buddha in his lifetime was a living example, he left his physical form, but his Dharma is still here. So if we live in this lifetime well as a living example, we will live a legacy, our own kind of experience and witness to the Dharma, which can carry on, especially during these challenging times. Can we have this slide come up again, please? There are a couple more. We still have a few more minutes. So we have courage to use what seems like poison. So poison would be ignorance, lustful desire, selfish desire. So selfishness that just wants to be concerned with I, me, and mine. And then hatred or aversion. We try to look to see where these poisons are still needing to be purified from our own body, speech, and mind. And then we use the practice as medicine to heal, because Buddha said these three poisons are not part of our natural mind. Our natural mind is pure, luminous, radiant, as I said also earlier, primordially pure and radiant, beginningless and endless. There's nothing like space cannot be harmed by anything that flies through space, whether it's spaceships or meteors or atomic bombs or even air pollution, space cannot be harmed. Space has remained in its own quality open, beginningless, endless, able to hold everything effortlessly. In Tibetan Buddha Vajrayana practice, the mind is often made analogous to space. So our mind is radiant, beginningless, endless. Nothing can really harm its true essence. Many things, thoughts can come and go. They don't harm the true quality of the radiant purity. What harms it is when out of ignorance we start to believe in those thoughts, solidify them, make them into non-changing ideologies. We start to believe I'm right and you're wrong. We start to create aversion, hatred, judgments, and concepts that then separate ourselves out from a radiant awareness of just being in non-judgmental, pure loving kindness, spacious wisdom, a capacity to be aware. It doesn't mean you don't have your opinions, but you don't believe in those opinions as solid truth. You know they're just ideas. They just come and go, and we change our minds all the time. But we're talking now about the nature of the mind. The nature of the mind, that does not change. So the next slide, please. So stages of Tonglen, we're using what is called the mind of awakening, Bodhichitta. We've begun the visualization, we focus on our personal situation, and then we expand our compassion. Next slide, please. Flash on Bodhichitta. So use this right now as your meditation. I'm going to read it as a guided meditation. So in your meditation, you can keep your eyes closed or halfway closed and just listen to the instructions. And later, if you want to watch the video again, you can read these instructions that I'm going to speak for you. So rest your mind for a second or two in a state of openness, stillness. This stage is traditionally called flashing on absolute bodhicitta, awakened heart-mind, or opening to basic spaciousness, presence and clarity. Next slide, please. We begin the visualization by working with texture. As you breathe in feelings of heat, darkness, and heaviness, a sense of claustrophobia. You can actually even feel a pressure coming into your mind stream. Don't be afraid of this. You're taking in the suffering now of the world. It cannot harm you because the power of your compassion is much more powerful. As you breathe out feelings of coolness, brightness, and light, a sense of freshness and openness. Breathe in completely, taking in negative energy through all the pores of your body. When you breathe out, feel an opening and expansion, radiating positive energy confidently and completely through all the pores of your body. Do this until your visualization is synchronized with your in and out breaths. Next slide, please. Focus on a personal situation. Now make it personal. Focus on any painful situation that's real to you right now in your life. Traditionally begin by doing Tonglen for someone you care about and wish to help. However, in this session today, we're working with a stuck part of our own practice. So we're practicing for the pain that you are feeling yourself right now. In later sessions, you can practice for others, but today, in this session, practice just for yourself. Identify this, and as you identify it, you can imagine, and at the same time, for all of those who are stuck in the same kind of situation as you've identified for yourself, you can call in that kind of suffering that they're experiencing, and in your mind, dedicate this practice to help them heal as well as you deal with this issue. There are many, many others dealing with the same issue, and you bring in this practice for their benefit. For instance, if you're feeling inadequate, breathe in that for yourself and for all others in the same boat who are feeling inadequate. Send out confidence, courage, adequacy, and relief in any form you wish. It can be in the form of sending out white light. It can be in the form of sending out joy, courage, strength, happiness, laughter, humor. Whatever will be most beneficial to yourself right now, you can use that and send that out to all others in the same way. Next slide, please. Expand your compassion. Make the taking in and sending out bigger. So since we're doing this for ourselves right now, we're doing Tonglen in this practice for ourselves and all beings who are experiencing the same difficulties right now. So don't think of them at all as labels for friends or enemies or strangers, just from a pure heart, a pure motivation and intention. Dedicate your Tonglen practice that all beings who are struggling with this very block that you've identified with, that they may be free of that block. Genuinely wish it for them. Breathe in pain and send out relief, with an equal wish for everyone to be free of suffering, exactly as the same as your own wish to be free. And in this way, we find that we are all equal. Tonglen can extend infinitely. And as we do the practice, our compassion naturally expands over time, and our courage does as well, as does the realization that things are not as solid as you thought, which is a glimpse of emptiness, this deep, interdependent, interconnected reality that we're a part of. Next slide, please. As you do this practice, gradually at your own pace, you will be surprised to find yourself more and more able to be there for others, even in what used to seem like impossible situations. And you will begin to feel a warm, soft spot in your heart center, radiating with feelings of care and connection. Next slide, please. Oh, that's the last slide. Okay, then you can pull me up, I guess, closer. This is the final slide. So now we've finished our Tonglen. So come out of your meditation at your own pace, please. And we always dedicate our merits from this practice together, that all beings, we say it like this, Bodhi mind, which means the mind of awakening, the mind that we've just been working on, practicing with, developing, expanding, strengthening. Bodhi mind, precious and sublime, may it arise where it has not arisen, and where it has arisen, may it flourish and grow forevermore. May we all attain Buddhahood for the benefit of every sentient being. So if we have any time, I don't know, we're at 6:30. If there are questions or clarifications, we might have a minute or two that we can take any questions or comments. And if not, then you have the practice there and you'll be able to read those slides. I want to say a special thank you to my friend Smirta, who created those beautiful slides for us today. I really appreciate her kindness in doing that.
Thank you so much, Venerable Tenzin Dasel, for this wonderful session, for these amazing and very clear slides and explanation about Tonglen meditation. In fact, I have a few questions here about Tonglen. I mean, this can be a beautiful and a way to dealing with our own problems. Is that correct?
Yes, that's what we have to use it as first. We have to start it as our own problems, but in that identifying of our own problems, what we do is recognize we're not the only one who's suffering from that kind of problem. Let's take, for example, the problem of impatience, of not having enough patience and having a short temper. Do you think you're the only person on the planet that's got an impatience problem? I don't think so. Just look at the media these days. There's a lot of impatience. So what we do is we identify with having that short fuse in our own mind stream and saying, look, I don't have to be impatient. I actually can learn how to become more patient. And for all beings who suffer from the impatient problem, I'm going to practice recognizing that they also will benefit by having more patience. The whole world would become more gentle and more soft if we had more patience for one another. But I'm only going to be able to work with what I can identify with. But I know I'm not the only one who has that challenge. So the next time we meet somebody who's suffering from impatience, because we've been practicing growing our patience, what are we going to be able to offer them? More patience. How's that going to help them? Their impatient problem is not going to get the best of the situation. They're going to be feeling felt, heard. They're going to see the benefit of patience. And eventually they're going to start to understand that they're going to be able to learn more patience, right? But we have to start with ourselves.
Yes.
We have to, and we should find the ones that are our biggest obstacles, our biggest challenges, because the ones that we know about, once we heal those, there will be other hidden ones that are going to take their place. I'm speaking from experience now, okay, because we were doing these practices for a long time. But instead of feeling frustrated, we should feel happy. We should feel like, oh, good, that shadow, it just got more light brought into it. The light's expanding. Now the shadow's shrinking, but there's still something in the shadow to be seen. And so eventually at one point, that whole light is going to remove the shadow. At some point, there will be no more darkness. Really, really, I promise.
Thank you. So this means, as you explain and mention precisely the patient aspect, this means it's a very good way to deal with our problematic feelings, to recognize those feelings and recognize the others are same as us. Like is the same.
Exactly.
This is wonderful. But don't you think this is just a small question that for maybe Westerns, it's possible to do a bit of resistance to this kind of meditation because it's very difficult to want to deal directly with the emotions and with the suffering so directly?
Yes, I think you said Western in particular, but now living in India for many years, I think this culture It's not just Western, it's a culture that's permeating this sense of self-interest and preservation and fear. And that's not really Eastern or Western. That's just a kind of a misidentification that socially we've bought into, that we have to just take care of ourselves. We can't worry about it. We don't have bandwidth for that. But the deeper truth is every single thing that we enjoy in life, we've gotten through the kindness of others, whether it's the clothes that we're wearing. We don't know who made our clothes, but someone else has given their energy, their life force to creating clothes. We choose them, we enjoy them. So we have to start expanding that awareness. You're right, there is a resistance, especially because this kind of I, me, mine culture, this Western psychology encouraged that kind of view, but it's not really compared to Eastern psychology or Eastern view of Tibetan Buddhism or Buddhism in general. The deep interconnected nature is much older and sees, and now we could even look at it through quantum physics. We see that organisms only can form, and we say my body or myself, but who is that? We're formed of trillions of cells, quadrillions of cells, changing all the time. Different emotions, different thoughts, different appearances, wrinkles coming, so change is happening all the time. Why are we afraid and trying to cherish and hang on and stop anything from happening and just isolate ourselves from connection that's natural? So we have to encourage ourselves. That's why I was using this word courage, and the word courage in English is found inside of the word encourage. It means getting brave, stepping outside of our comfort zone, trying to see a bigger picture than the one that's been presented to us as reality. We're allowed to question. Buddha encouraged us to question. So we have to find those places within our own minds where there is resistance, where there is fear, that stops us from connecting. Because isolation is not a happy place. Isolation is a lonely place. It's lonely because it's not in union, it's not in harmony with the true nature of reality. So yes, you're right, in the West, but that's why I said we need the rising of the West, the teamwork of the East, of coming together, and the courage to be able to investigate will bring us to the same conclusion, which is we deeply need each other. We're here to see that is the truth. And so we need individually to find a way to be courageous enough to learn some new truths from each other, with each other.
Thank you for that beautiful reminder. And I'm really a fan of your concept of the West and East union and the necessary approach of these two mindsets. This is really very important and is something that never have been done. And I think it's something that we can really bring up. And thank you for bringing this. And also I invite people to visit your work. And if they are able to sponsor and help, it will be wonderful. So I kindly want to thank you for your time, your generosity. And I don't have much words. I'm still involved in the environment of the meditation. So honestly, thank you so much, Venerable Tenzin Dasel. I'm really happy and joyful. Thank you. And may all beings benefit from this moment, and wish you the best and a long life to Jetsoma and all beings in special. Thank you. Thank you very much. I don't know if you have any
Sonia.
words.
Yes. Yeah.
If you
I
have
just
a
want to say
final
thank
word
you, Sonia, to my Dharma sister, for organizing Sattva, for all of your dedication and energy towards Sattva and towards the Dharma, and for your kind and gentle essence in this world. Please, whatever you're involved with, keep doing what you're doing, and it will be a blessing for the Dharma to continue through Sattva, through this beautiful platform that you've helped create. May we all benefit each other in whatever form that might take. Yes, I enjoy very much to give these kinds of connections online, and also believe that some of our big work is to do the work this way, but also to act locally and think globally. So create an eco-dharma center in the West where we can bring teachers in and create more and more dialogue between the East and West and share the Dharma in its pure essence in the West, I think will greatly help many people who are looking for some respite and some truth that they themselves, through their own power of practice and wisdom, can investigate. They're encouraged to do that, and they can find that the benefits will show themselves through their own experience. So may that be the case in this meditation for all of you, and may Sattva long continue to help all beings find their freedom. Have a nice day, everybody. Until the next time.
Thank you so much, and see you very soon, we hope. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you. Bye-bye.